Welcome back to The Working Lunch. My name is Jack Crumley. I am joined by someone who, if you know about bars in Cincinnati, the scene, you know the name Molly Wellmann. Molly, I'm so happy to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so cool.
Thank you. Thank you. We like this. We like this a lot too.
Yeah.
You are one of the busiest people in the industry here that I know of. You have owned a number of bars over the years.
Yes.
You are what you call a self-taught mixologist.
Yes, definitely.
Does that mean you just picked a day and grabbed a bunch of bottles and jars and started mixing things together?
Kind of. What I did was I like classic cocktails. Mm-hmm. And so I started to read all these books, these cocktail books from before Prohibition. And,
sure.
In the front of all this, they have all the recipes and stuff, but at the very beginning, they show like techniques and how bartenders would, their techniques from before Prohibition and the ingredients and stuff they used. And so I read all of that and learned.
You're talking pre-Prohibition drinks. That was it more high test then? I mean, you had absinthe and all sorts of stuff running around.
Yeah, there was all kinds of things. So yeah, then coming back to modern times, trying to decipher, what was back then to what is now, and what we can use and everything.
You were at Braxton Brewery in Covington over the weekend with our own Natalie Jones.
Yes.
Doing a derby thing. How many mint juleps do you think you served on Saturday?
Oh my gosh, we served so many. I mean, it was packed. It was great. Everybody was dressed up. It was amazing. But everybody wanted mint juleps, and I'm very particular about my mint juleps.
Yeah, you've got a sort of you were teasing on Facebook that you've got a very sort of specific secret ingredient, and you said, "Come on out to learn what it is."
Yeah.
I don't mean to put you on the spot,
no,
but what is the secret to your mint julep?
So the secret is that first of all, I build them all together. You cannot batch a mint julep.
Right.
The second thing is I top mine. I do a float of dark Jamaican rum on top.
Oh.
And the reason why I do that is because going back through history and when mint juleps were so popular during colonial times before the Revolution, people in America were drinking rum.
Okay.
And so
because it was close because the islands were right there.
Right there, and that was kind of like what people were drinking. After the Revolution, of course, we went with our American spirit, whiskey. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of an homage to when they were drinking juleps with rum before the Revolution.
That's interesting. Were mint juleps popular also because the flavoring sort of made it more palatable than whatever was available back in the 1700s?
Exactly. And in the springtime it was mint, and it was also drink in the morning. Isn't that funny?
Sure. Well, listen.
Instead of coffee,
many
get
such
yourself
cases.
a mint julep. Yeah.
That's wild.
Cool. Yeah.
So you served a ton of those on Saturday.
So many.
That's the drink.
It was great, and nobody said they hated it. It looked like everybody came back for seconds and sometimes thirds, which was fun.
Yeah, of course. So now, in terms of what your regular gig is, you were announced as the master taster at Hidden Barn. Was that last year?
Yes. Yes.
Tell me about what being a master taster is.
Oh, it's the worst job. Oh,
it sounds,
so rough.
You're very put upon.
I know. I do it for the people, Jack. I do it for the people. No, this is really cool. So there is an amazing distillery down in Sparta, Kentucky. And it's right where the Kentucky race track was,
sure.
right across the street, in fact. And it's such an amazing distillery. Royce Neely, the Neely family, his wife Becca, they just put out some amazing spirits. They really do. Not just the whiskeys, but they also do an absinthe that I think by far is the best absinthe I've ever had.
Wow, okay.
It is fantastic.
You're not seeing the Green Fairy with that absinthe,
no,
though, right?
No. We could talk. We could do a whole show about that.
Absolutely.
But no. No, it's just really good quality stuff. But they have a brand that was put together a few years ago called Hidden Barn. Mm-hmm. And there's this amazing woman. Her name is Jackie Zykon. She's a master taster as well, but she needed to leave the industry.
Okay.
And so I got a call from Royce, and he's like, Jackie has to, she's doing other things, which is fantastic. I love Jackie. I aspire to, be as great of a taster as she is. mixologist.
Okay.
And we wanted to see if you wanted to take her place. And I was like, I would be honored. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
So this month I'll be going down there and we'll start blending some, bottles together and everything. And then I'll be tasting them to give the final say to be put out to the market.
Yeah, so like essentially, is this like high-end, like quality control? They take the time to distill and put whatever together, and then you've got to take the sip and then give it the final approval.
Exactly. It's a lot of blending of different barrels from their warehouses, really. And so we, it's like magic. It's like almost like painting a picture when you're blending, except you're doing it with bourbon. Yeah. Which is really neat.
You're painting a picture with a lot of different shades of brown.
Yes, exactly. But for your taste buds.
Yeah. How do you, obviously all your years of mixology and research plays a big part in training you, giving you experience for this role, but are there little things you're doing to avoiding really hot foods?
Yeah.
You're maintaining your taste buds as well as you can?
Definitely. It's really hard to be a master. You have to train for it by just tasting. And then I also judge a lot of national whiskey and spirit competitions, and I'll get samples of a bunch of whiskey or spirits, and then I have to go through, taste them, judge them, and write tasting notes on them. So I've been doing that for quite a few years. Yeah. And in the past I owned a little bourbon bar in Kentucky called the Old Kentucky Bourbon Bar. And I think I got a lot of training with that. Every Tuesday we'd get new products in, and we would all sit and taste them, and kind of get the notes together and know what they tasted like, so that we could properly suggest that for our customers that came in. So a lot of that.
So this gig, you can be somewhat virtual, but you said next month you're going to be down there doing some things.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, this month. Yeah,
this
May.
Month, right.
Yeah. So I'll be down there.
Are these public events? Are people coming out to see you?
I wish. I don't know. I think it's more like we'll be in a room together and just get it done.
Okay.
But then once those blends are put together and bottled and labeled, and then we'll be putting them out on the market. And Hidden Barn is throughout the country, so it's going to be fantastic.
That's a great gig. Good for you.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I really love working with them.
I bet. No kidding. So now one of the things that helped get you build up the experience to become the master taster for Hidden Barn is you published a cocktail book a number of years ago.
Yeah.
How is that going still?
You know what? So that was back in 2013, and it was great. It was a different time because I had Japs, and I had Old Kentucky, I had Neons, I had all these bars, and it was fantastic. And I'm still very proud of that book. However, I am now working on a new book. It's been taking years, but that's okay. It's more centered to Cincinnati. It's the history of drinking in Cincinnati.
Well, how many chapters am I in there?
That's funny. Probably like a couple.
A normal amount is how many.
We drink so much, it feels like this book's going to be like this thick.
Well, I bet.
I've made it so that you can have an experience with it as well. Like, at Japs and all of my bars, I always wanted everybody to come in and have an experience, not just get a drink and get drunk and fall off their bar stool.
Sure.
Nobody likes that. But I wanted you to have an experience. So every time I made a cocktail, I would tell you a story about where it came from or something about it or the ingredients that were in it, so that you could kind of have more to it than just drinking the drink.
Right.
So this book there'll be stories, but I'll also have cocktails with it.
That's cool.
Yeah. So when you open the book, you'll make the cocktail, and then you'll sit down and you'll read the story, and the story will be as long as as it takes you to drink the drink. So keep people's attention spans.
It's dinner and a show.
Yeah, exactly. But I wanted to do it that way, so also you could learn a little bit more about Cincinnati, where you live.
What's one of the more interesting little Cincinnati alcohol tidbits that's in one of your recipes?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Oh, that's a hard question. There were, at one point in the 1880s, Cincinnati had close to 2,000 drinking establishments. It must have been such a good time.
Or maybe not a lot got done.
But in one block in particular, Vine Street, between 12th and 13th.
Okay.
Think about that.
Sure.
You have all the restaurants.
Not too far from here.
Exactly. 23 saloons, just in that block. Could you imagine?
And they're all operating in a way that, like, the owners are all, like, doing okay enough to stay
Yes,
in business.
all of them. And they were packed, you know. Saloon men back then, and there were a few women, but not many, they did really well for themselves, especially, like, the beautiful saloons that were, like, centered more down around Fountain Square. You know, those saloons were gorgeous. You'd walk in through like these big, you know, bevel glass doors and, you know, marble floors and mahogany bars with inlays on them and big gold beveled mirrors, you know.
What a time.
I know.
What a time for a place for somebody just to get hammered and fall off the stool.
Exactly. It was beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I wish we could see saloons like that again. There are a few that are modern that I'm just like blown away by.
Well, some of your former establishments had some pretty nice decor in them, Japs and Neons both, with some nice decor when you were running those.
I mean, I like to feel like we've gone back a little bit in time, but I also know that we're here in our time. So, you know, I always say you need to know the past to make better decisions in the present to have a better future.
Right on.
So that's always been my everything I think about, everything I learn is all about that. But even with the decor and the themes of all of my bars when I had them, that was big. That was important.
So speaking of, you know, past and present and future, you recently marked an anniversary with Cincinnati Gin.
Yes.
Tell us about, in case people don't know about Cincinnati Gin.
Yes. So I have this amazing gin. It's kind of my love letter to Cincinnati. Of course, it has to be through booze, you know.
What else?
So I created this. I partnered with Northern Road Distillery, which they're right up in over the Rhine on McMicken Street, kind of like behind Rheingeist.
Yep.
And they're an amazing distillery. They really are. After I sold the bars, you know, back in 22, I went and I said, I have this idea for a gin. You know, I always think when I go into Crone Conservatory, a beautiful conservatory, that, you know, all those plants in there would probably make a gorgeous gin.
Absolutely.
You know? And so I said, you want to do this with me? And they were game. And then, you know, I called Crone Conservatory and I was like, hey,
yeah, that's the better question. Were they game?
Yes. Now, I want to make it very clear. I do not go into Crone Conservatory, you know, with a little basket and, you know, scissors
Start
and plucking things. No, that is against the law. You can't do that. That is, you know.
But if you make a phone call ahead of time.
Well, no, I don't even do that. Okay. I just, you know, we were inspired by what grows there.
Gotcha.
And, you know, I'll tell you, there is an amazing man, Mark House, who is like, he oversees everything at the Crone Conservatory. He knows every plant. And we got to have a tour with him through Crone Conservatory. He knew every plant. He showed us all the ones that weren't poisonous, that we could probably use, you know, would be great for gin. And Josh Quaterbaum, who's the master distiller at Northern Row, you know, we were all taking notes, and he started to order in botanicals that we got to, you know, see and learn about at the Crone Conservatory, and it started putting together different blends, you know, different botanical blends. And my hard job, being a taster, had to go down and taste them all and decide which one I thought was the best.
So now, does Cincinnati Gin, is that juniper forward, or what's your botanical there?
So it's really just bright and pretty.
Okay.
All right. So there's a lot of mandarin orange and a lot of ginger as well. Like when you taste it, you'll get a little tingly on the side of the tongue. That's ginger, and then just a bit of sweetness, but not sugar sweet, just sweetness from the mandarin orange. Vanilla and cocoa nib to kind of round it out. Kaffir lime leaf and bay leaf for a little herbal, and then cinnamon at the end for interest. And then there has to be juniper in gin.
Right.
We use Ohio-grown juniper in our gin, so that is it does not taste like a Christmas tree. It's a lot more mild than you would get in like a London dry gin.
Well, and it's springtime. We're getting into summer. That having a gin in like when it's warm weather out is not an uncommon thing for people to do.
No, it's wonderful. I mean, I drink it all year long, but yeah, I love to see people starting to switch from, you know, their bourbons into their, you know, lighter spirits, and especially that gin. It's doing really well. We're doing really well.
Well, and so it was the 15th anniversary for gin?
Well, no, it's the third.
Third.
Yeah,
Sorry, I misread
No,
that.
it's okay. No, it's only 3 years, but for 3 years, we're doing really,
That's
really
great.
well. We're in Kentucky now. We're looking to get into Indiana soon. We're looking to expand, further north into Ohio and further south into Kentucky. And then, little by little, we'll expand throughout the United States.
Are you doing any other work with clear liquors along in the vein of gin?
I am very glad you said that. Yes, so I haven't announced this yet on my social media, but however, I am partnering with Northern Row on a vodka.
Right on.
Yeah, so it's called Good River. And what's wonderful about this vodka, it's very clean. It is very clean. I put it in front of people in a blind tasting, against other brands
Sure.
I'm not going to name, and every single time they have picked
No kidding.
Good River.
Is that about just making sure it's a really fine distillation to get it pure as you can get it?
Yes, and there is something about when you work with a small craft distillery. It's like there's more care that's put into the spirit.
Sure, because they're doing craft work. That's
Exactly.
the idea of craft work versus big manufacturing, whatever.
Exactly. So this is beautiful. It's very clean. It has a bit of sweetness. It's made from corn.
Oh, cool.
So it's really, really gorgeous. And part of the proceeds is called Good River because, Cincinnati and Hamilton County, we're surrounded by these beautiful riverways, right? Our Ohio River, our the two Miamis, Great and Little, and then our creeks and tributaries, right?
Yeah, you got that Mill Creek too.
Exactly, I know. And people be like, ooh. No, this is good. Like part of the proceeds that go when you purchase a bottle of this vodka. Will go back to helping cleaning up our waterways.
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
When is that going to be? We looking to have that in the stores or available at a bar or whatever?
It's available. We just got it into all the state stores now in Ohio, and then we also have it over across the river in Kentucky. Party Source has it, and many other small, stores have,
Outlets,
or
yeah.
liquor stores have it. So it's already out there, and you can also go to the distillery and get yourself a bottle and try it against different.
Oh yeah, because it's at Northern
vodkas.
Row.
Yes, exactly.
So Good River, Good River is the new vodka. Check that out. Of course, we have
Yes.
Cincinnati Gin.
Yes.
We are going to take a break here on the Working Lunch. We will be back with much more from Molly Wellmann. Stick around. Welcome back to the Working Lunch. We are here with the lovely and vivacious Molly Wellmann, who has made such a name for herself here in town with various bars, Japs and Neons, and now you're doing the master taster for Hidden Barn.
Yep.
And you've also got a consulting thing that you're doing now.
Yes.
What got you into wanting to work in this whole industry in the first place?
It's funny. I've been a bartender for close to 30 years now, and I was living in San Francisco for a little bit. I'm born and raised in Cincinnati.
Right,
Seventh
but then you went to
generation.
what high school?
I went to, of course, Macaulay, and then I went to Coleraine. I graduated from Coleraine, West Side girl. And then, in the 90s, there wasn't a lot going on in Cincinnati, and I've always been curious about stuff. And my best friend, she went to college out in San Francisco, so I was like, I'm going to go out to San Francisco for a little bit. And I worked in, high-end retail. I did a bunch of stuff, out there. And then I got kind of thrown into the service industry. Like a friend of mine was opening a restaurant. She just was like, hey, do you want to run some food, here or there?
Sure.
And I'm like, sure, what do I have to do? She's like, just pick up the plate and bring it to the table. I'm like, done. Well, the bartender didn't show up, so they threw me behind the bar.
This is how the self-taught mixology thing began?
Yes.
This is your origin story?
It's ridiculous. It really is. I knew how to make Manhattans because I drank them, and I knew how to drink. I knew how to make martinis because I drank those, and then two-part drinks, easy. But I didn't really know how to do anything, so I just kind of got thrown in. I loved it. And then I went from there. And then in San Francisco, I just worked, for some nightclubs and some gay bars and stuff like that. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then coming back to Cincinnati in 2008,
Okay.
I was looking for a job. I wasn't sure, how much the city had changed in 12 years. I was gone for that long.
And you came back in 8. That was right when things were just
Yes.
starting to change.
I was blown away by how much had changed in
Yeah.
12 years. I was just blown away. It was so cool. And it got me excited too. But my first job was over in Northern Kentucky. It was called Chalk, and it was a Jean Robert restaurant.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And now it's called Blinkers.
Okay, yeah, Blinkers Tavern,
Yeah,
sure.
we love Blinkers. But yeah, I got a job there. They wanted somebody who could make classic and craft cocktails. And I kind of fibbed and said, I know how to do that. I had no idea. But I went home, started going, Googling and, getting those old cocktail books and then learning. And I fell down the rabbit hole and I went nuts.
Yeah.
So I would be like, and it was great. Like my chef, and Jean Robert let me have a space in the kitchen, which never happens for front of the house, to be able to
Sure.
have a small spot where I can make my own syrups and I can experiment with, different liqueurs and stuff like that, and using fresh ingredients that were coming into the restaurant. And then creating and, making these old cocktails, and then researching the story behind each one, and then telling the customer about it. It was so much fun, and I just loved it. So that's kind of my niche,
Yeah.
And then I always learned about every spirit on the back of the bar, so I could explain, like, here's the difference between this whiskey and this whiskey, or this gin and this gin, and explain to the customer what they're getting,
This is something I've always wondered about for folks that are specifically working in the industry.
Yeah.
Is it difficult? Is it tricky? Is it something that you have to work on, where the idea that you're kind of mixing work and fun together?
Oh, yeah.
Being at the bar and maybe, doing a round of shots with people and throwing stuff out there is a part of the job, but at the end of the day, you're still working.
Yes.
Was there a ramp up process to figure out how to balance those two things together?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when people go out to drink, they can drink responsibly or not.
Sure.
So it's very easy to drink responsibly. It is, unless, that's not your thing.
Yeah, right.
But for me, it is. I drink very responsibly. So if there is a call for where I have, are partaking in
Sure.
a shot with people, then I'll have one. And then if they want to do another, then I fake it and you do water or,
Yeah.
ginger ale or something like that. I also drink a lot of water in between as
call.
well. And when I'm working, I really don't feel like drinking at all.
Because you're
honestly.
focused on the job.
Exactly. And I don't like being drunk. I really don't. I still don't. But yeah, it is a part of the job. I do have to drink alcohol for my job, but it's about doing it responsibly and, paying attention to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. On Sundays, I do like to go out with my friends.
Well, sure.
And we have a great time.
You still deserve a weekend like anybody else.
Exactly. But again, being responsible, not getting behind the wheel, making sure that there's at least one sober person in the group, things like that.
When you're talking about when you were first back then starting and had a little space in the kitchen to work on mixing
Yeah.
drinks, and over the time as you have, researched and tested out and come up with different drink ideas, was there ever one where you put this together and thought, this is going to be, this is great, this is a great idea,
Yeah.
and then you try it out and it doesn't really land with people?
No, it was like there were so many drinks that were not good.
Yeah. But I mean, you tested them
yeah.
out and you thought, oh, this is
yeah.
cool.
And the thing also, when I served drinks especially back then, I would straw test each one.
Sure.
Make sure that I didn't forget an ingredient for some reason, because I'm also talking while I'm making drinks. I want to make sure it's balanced, and I want the customer to get the best cocktail that I can make them. So yes, there have been some cocktails where I'm like, that didn't work as well. But for the most part, it's been really well received.
Yeah.
The cocktails are.
And then the flip side of that is, something that you don't think is maybe worth anybody's time. And
Yeah.
then if somebody gets a taste of it, then they think it's the best thing they've ever had.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Is there any accounting for taste? Like the idea that you're a professional taster.
Yeah.
It is your job to understand how things taste and how flavors work together and what works in a drink to put in front of people.
Yeah.
But like you're a pro, and then having to maybe serve to, I mean, amateurs, the idea of there not being any accounting for taste, is that a hard thing to juggle professionally?
You know, sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. It depends. When I create cocktails, and I create a lot of cocktail lists for different customers and different bars and restaurants, usually I'll go in and from experience, we'll just write them down. And then many times if it's weird, then I'll go and get the ingredients and I'll experiment and make sure that it tastes great,
Okay. You got to tweak it because then you get the feedback.
Exactly.
Right
I need to. When I'm behind the bar though, I mean, I would put up a different cocktail list every week, and on Tuesdays when the first we were open for the week, there were certain regulars that knew that come in on Tuesdays
So like
that they
tasting
could
day.
taste it. Yeah,
Tasting
like
day.
all right, give me your feedback. I think it's great. What do you think? And depending on like what kind of bar today, when I consult and I make these lists for different businesses. I also like to know what clientele, like what are you looking for? Are you looking for something that's completely outside the box with crazy flavors and stuff, or do you want something that's way more approachable,
She knows more about alcohol than I think anybody else in this town. Molly Wellmann. Check out Cincinnati Gin.
Yes.
Keep an eye out for Good River Vodka that's coming soon. Molly, thank you for coming on the show.
Jack, thank you so much. This is so wonderful.
You're watching The Working Lunch here on The Crown. Stick around.